Morning, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm going to call order the Town of Andover Board of Selectmen special meeting for Friday, October 24th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And we're going to start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you guys all for comment. We're going to get started with the public speak. Joe? Joe, you good?
I'm good.
All right, Liz?
Oh, I'm good.
Nathan? Isn't it Nathan?
Yeah, good.
Nothing? You good?
Bill DeRosiers.
Bill DeRosiers.
I just want to say that as a board of finance member, I'm extremely concerned about the situation that we're in right now, losing Eric, because we rely on the administrator heavily at our meetings, at our weekly meetings when we're going through the budgeting process, because Eric, or the town administrator, we're just volunteers, myself and Liz and the rest of the board, they show up once a month and then the budget meeting once a week. We don't have the intricate knowledge of the budget that Eric does, of every single line item, everything that's going on in the town. He was a crucial part of our budgeting season, our budgeting process, and without him, or someone like him with his knowledge, it's going to be very, very difficult, especially losing Mark Brinker and Joanne Hebert, who have been on board longer than anybody else on, well, except for, well, we're losing England possibly too, let's see, 3 elected. So we have a very young board without the benefit of having an administrator who really knows the intricate interworkings of the town. So it's going to be a huge loss, and I hope that this board acts quickly and decisively to get a qualified person to backfill Eric's position.
Diane Brennan?
I'm all set, thank you.
That's it?
What's that?
You sure you just want to film?
Yep.
You don't want to be on camera? We can get you on camera quick.
No.
No? Okay. All right. Listen, Eric stepped out. This discussion between us is really how to fill the position and what we're looking for from an interim town administrator and then a permanent town administrator, and how we sit there and go about those steps. So I really want Eric to sit there and explain to the board and the members his situation and where he's at and what his recommendation is, so that we hear that first before we start talking about what we think should happen. All right? So he's off the phone now. Joe, can you hear me? I'm gonna make
I
sure.
think so.
I'll move you closer if I have to.
There he is.
Thank you. I'll move closer. You don't mind it.
No, come on. You wanna sit here, Joe? Here we go.
Well, I can hear you better. I'll sit next to you.
Sit right next to us.
That's nice. That's good.
Eric, what I had said to everybody was I wanted you to explain your current position, what you think is going to go on, so that we can hear from you, what you think we should potentially do as we decide what we want to do.
Okay, so my thoughts are pretty simple, and that is hire an interim town manager / town administrator to get through the next 3 to 6 months while you make a decision on a permanent replacement. My suggestion is that you hire Jim Bolano. He came recommended to me from NECOG, the Northeast COG's executive director. And independently, John Alcessor also said he would be a good fit. So, you know, and the town's attorney said he functioned very effectively in Wyndham twice while he was the interim town manager.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, I do want to repeat that since I
Yeah.
haven't showed up.
There.
Okay.
But just to do that again.
All right. Take 2.
Take 2.
Round number 2. Okay. So you asked me what my thoughts were on what the process should be going forward. And my suggestion initially is that you hire an interim town administrator to fulfill the role until such time as you've gone through the search process and hired a permanent replacement. Ideally, you would have that person in place by around November 1, so he and I have a couple weeks of overlap. So I can transfer as much information to him, because there are a lot of projects going right now that need to be addressed. So my suggestion is that you choose Jim Bolano. He was initially recommended to us from Jim Rivers, who is at NECOG. And Jim Rivers, prior to that, was the person in charge. He was Wyndham's town manager. And he transitioned to Jim twice, once from Jim Bolano to Jim Rivers, when Jim Rivers took over as town manager. And then 5 years later, when he left Wyndham to be NECOG's executive director, he transitioned back to Jim Bolano, who then transitioned to the new administrator. So he's been through this before. He's a good people person, so I think he can hopefully stabilize the town workforce, which I think is going to be a really important consideration, in your decision. So I also asked John Alcessor. He gave me 2 names. Jim Bolano was one, and he listed a second name, which I also provided to you in that packet. If neither of those 2 are acceptable to you, then there are 2 NECOG employees that are functioning in town administrator roles for multiple towns right now, that would have some bandwidth to cover the town of Andover. But I would think that would be certainly not your primary choice. That would be a fallback position if you couldn't get anybody else to do it on a more close to a full-time basis. So I think that's the first thing. Get somebody in, to run the show in the short term for 3 to 6 months, or however long you anticipate taking to do the search. Number 2, I think you should probably reach out to CCM and talk to their staff about doing a salary survey for the position, so that you as a board understand kind of what the ranges of salaries for town administrators / town managers are. So you have a basis going into discussion, because I think you're going to struggle. Towns that pay an awful lot more than Andover are still struggling to find competent town managers / administrators. So that would be my suggestion. Understand where you are on a salary basis and figure out where you want to be. The third thing would be to hire an executive search firm. I've provided you with 2. There are clearly a bunch more out there. I've been through the process with MRI. From the applicant standpoint, they are thorough to a degree that's shocking, actually. But there's good in that, because at the end of the day, you will know everything you want to possibly know about a candidate prior to, signing an employment agreement with the new administrator. So that's one. Randy Frank is another. I know she did Coventry search, she did Killingly search, she did 3 or 4 others in Connecticut in the last year. So she's also somebody that does that extensively in the state of Connecticut. So those are my basic suggestions. And then I would also say we need to kind of have a plan in place to cover the things, the roles that I take on that are kind of outside the direct town administration. One is board of directors for Eastern Highlands Health District. I'm also on their exec committee, but my replacement will not. They will choose another current board member for their exec committee. But we should have a rep on the board of directors. Ideally, that should be the temporary administrator. And part of the reason why that's important is most of the people that are on the board of directors are other town managers and town administrators, and it gives you an opportunity every other month to sit down with your peers and after the meeting discuss a lot of the things that occur. So I think that's important. And you have the contact info for Rob Miller, who's the head of the Eastern Highlands Health District. We're going into the season where the Mid-Northeast Recycling Consortium, which Andover is a part of, believe it or not, we're one of the founding members of that, starts to do their bidding for, recycling, tires, all the functions of the transfer station and hazardous waste. That group will also runs our hazardous waste disposal facility, which is in Willington. We should have a rep going to those meetings and voting at those meetings. And I listed the contact information there. We probably should have a representative for the Hop River Trail Alliance. For those of you who don't know, that is an organization that's composed of 7 towns along the Hop River Trail. And it's kind of a 2-stage organization. There is a board of directors, which is either a town employee or a decision maker from each of the 7 towns. And then there's an actual board, you could call it an executive board, that does the work. So the towns are the one that decide what the organization does, but the towns don't do the work. The executive portion does the work. My suggestion is Bill Penn, who's, I think I saw him running in here. The only thing that would have to happen with Bill is Bill would have to keep the board informed, and anything that's of concern to the town, he would have to bring back to the board, so you guys could come up with a position before he votes as part of the Hop River Trail Alliance. Alternately, you have to find either a board member or a town employee that would sit in on that. Jay Tuttle sat in on a few of those meetings. Eventually, Eric, his replacement, could do that, but I think Eric has too many other things on his plate to put that on his head. The next thing you're gonna have to deal with is you as a board are the local traffic authority. But the reason you are authorized to make decisions is because you have a local traffic authority designee, which currently is me. You can't technically make any road signage or signal or any decisions without an LPE that has taken the state training and stayed certified. So either one of you are gonna have to do that, which is a couple days out of your life to go through the training, and then annual, you're gonna have to go to 2 or 3 events a year to maintain certification, or you're gonna have to find somebody to do that for you. I think you could probably just not make any road signage decisions for the next 6 months until you had a full-time person here, and then make them do it. That would be my suggestion, but that would hamper you if you had to make an emergency decision. You would be doing that outside the bounds of what's allowed in the state of Connecticut. And the last thing is, we really need somebody to cover the Andover's representative on the Capital Region Council of Governments on 2 main boards. The first is the policy board. That's the major decision-making board of the organization. And the second is the transportation committee. Transportation committee because transportation is where an awful lot of the funding comes through. And being on that board and interfacing with the professional staff is very helpful when you're trying to grant fund your own projects. So I think we really ought to have a direct representative on both of those, and I listed for you when the policy board meetings and the transportation committee meetings are. Now, I also serve on 3 other boards within CROG, but those are kind of specialist. One is the Bike Ped Committee. You know, I do that simply because it's an interest of mine. I serve on the Priority Pathway Committee, which is a committee determining, trying to lay out the multi-use pathway network throughout the capital region. I'm doing that simply because I have a couple things in Andover I want added to the list. So, you know, I suspect you're not gonna replace me on that. And that's it. That's the major for the kind of outside organizations that I rep the town on.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
just for the meeting purposes, when you spoke at Jim Milano, we met, Chuck Murray and I met with Eric and Jim last night just to understand potentially what would happen with a temporary administrator. And just from the meeting with Jim, Eric was, you know, it was interesting that Wyndham didn't call on him just once to become the temporary administrator, they called on him twice. And so that's what this board has to decide really, what is our strategy to replace the town administrator position? Because we have obviously a temporary issue that we need to address short term, and then we have a longer term issue of what type of town administrator that we're looking to hire. Because in my mind, we have 2 choices. We have a choice to sit there and hire someone who has less experience and potentially keep a similar salary range, or we have an issue with Eric sat there and said we need to do a salary survey to probably increase our costs and go for a more experienced and do a wider search for a administrator. And that's what the board, we all need to decide what we want to do. And those are the 2 things today that, you know, we just need to come up, what's the basic plan? My thought with the temporary person is to make sure that temporary person documents the minutia of what Eric does and document it in such a way that we have a working plan for the next administrator to come in, because I don't believe that Eric walked in to the best situation at the point in time when we had the last change in town administrators. I don't think Eric came in with a lot of information as to what the job entailed and who should be called and what should be done. And I would much rather, in the 3 weeks that we have left with Eric, make as much headway as possible to documenting all of that. And I think that would be very helpful for us. So, those are the steps that we have to deal with as a board. I mean, we have to decide what we want to do from a temporary perspective and what we want to do moving forward. And those decisions all don't need to be made today, but they need to be thought about. And we need to identify it. I mean, I will tell you, the town administrator's position, the return on the investment of the town administrator's position has been significant. And anyone who doesn't think that needs to really just look at, let's say, the prior 6 years, or even the first 2 years of the administrator were very difficult. So, but I'll even go past that. You go back to the previous administrations and the amount of grant funding that was pushed into this town. I can only count about $1 million that came into the town. Probably since I moved into town, $500,000 for the bridge that was a fiasco, that also cost us an extra $500,000, and the $500,000 for the field, which was $250,000 for the renovation of the old firehouse, and I forgot, I think it was $250,000 for a field that we combined into the field renovation the first time. And anybody else here tell me that there's more money than that that's ever come into this town those 10 years? Anybody? I mean, I'm just wondering because
There was some money that came in from the state through the federal local bridge program for the old bridge at Tom's Farm. So that was probably,
That's true. That was done.
yeah,
That was done when I first joined the board.
Right.
Was it under process? That's near the Palazzi's house.
Yeah.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought about too is that Eric did also get us involved in the SIF program, which is bringing in about $150,000 a year
True.
by combining all those separate checking accounts into one. It's just bringing a lot of money to the town that we didn't have before, in addition to the $13.5 million worth of grants, so.
But
I
that
would
was,
give the
that was,
treasurer credit, not me.
that was on the board, that should have been done long time ago.
Should have been done,
Should have
it
been
wasn't
done.
done when Eric came to office.
So it's not administrative process. So those are the things that we sit there and the board need to consider as to what we're doing.
And also new vehicles for the transportation.
Again, it goes to the return on investment.
Yeah.
So you invest money, you have better performance. I will only speak from my standpoint. You elect a first selectman in our town, we elect a first selectman. That first selectman will not always have skills that translate to an administrator's position. And someone might have the skills to do the administrator's position, but have a full-time job that they can't commit to. And so you have a return on investment issue in multiple ways. So who you elect in my position as first selectman is not always gonna be the best person to be the administrator of the town. And I think if we regress and think of going backwards to that process, I think it's a vast disservice to the community and a monstrous step backwards. So, but going forward, we have the issue of, are we going to sit there and hire someone that may not have all of the prerequisite skills of an administrator, or are we gonna pay more to get somebody that has more of the skills? That's what the board has to do. Now, those are decisions, and I would sit there and go if the other board members wanna talk about that, that's fine, that's future issues. I would like to sit there and schedule a meeting, I mean, Jeff, I'll sit there and go to you. Would it be appropriate to schedule a meeting with Jim Bolano and the rest of the board to sit there and see if it might be a good fit for us?
I think that would be acceptable. I think it's something, I mean, I wouldn't expect Carol, Ann, or Scott to vote on someone
No.
they've never met. So, I mean, that's asking a lot, so. And, you know, this is the first, I mean, we met last night, this is the first I've read that there's another name out there, so maybe we schedule Richard Brown as well to come in possibly Monday.
Okay.
And at least we have a choice between at least two people to consider.
Okay.
I mean, just to be fair, I mean,
Well, let's find out if he's interested
Yeah.
and sit there and see if we can get that done.
yes, I think as a board, we need to come to a consensus that, you know,
Absolutely.
that's who we want, if we go that route.
So Eric, if we can get Richard Brown's, I know that we have his email here, but if you could potentially reach out to him to sit there and see if he's interested, I'd appreciate that.
I'm available all day Monday, so if you want to set something up for Monday again, and something again with Jim, that's fine. But we would have to
Do you
put,
guys have time?
we would have to put, well, we'd have to put together a meeting notes today, right?
I don't care, we'll do it Monday. I mean, we'll just do it Monday. We need to sit there and put somebody in place as soon as possible, because Eric's last day is the 14th.
Yeah, if we're gonna do this, we need to make a decision before Wednesday next week.
Yes.
Because if we're looking back at his 14th, we're looking at November 3rd, 2nd, 3rd.
Right.
If you're looking at a 2-week window, so if there's a decision made, it has to be made next week.
Now, I will tell you, and just from simple, I mean, Jim Bolano was the economic development coordinator in Wyndham. So the way that we understood what happened was the new town manager came in, he made some changes, he terminated positions, he terminated Jim Bolano's position, so the entire EDC in Wyndham has been carved out. And how many people have left Wyndham so far? And there's been 3 votes of no confidence on the current town manager, so it's a bigger mess than we are. So, just telling the truth. So I would like you guys, Scott, to meet him as soon as possible, because he may not have all of the skills on the public works side, but from a interpersonal skill and time, he has time right now. which would be is very beneficial to us from my standpoint. So Monday, what time?
Whenever the candidates would be available.
Okay,
Are
so,
you talking day, evening, what are you talking?
well, let's do it during the day.
I'm available.
I mean, we can't do it in the community room, we have to do it here. So we gotta make sure that there's nothing scheduled in here. We could do it in your office, but then
But the
it's
thing
really
is,
gonna be a public
we,
meeting.
for transparency, if you want to videotape it, we should probably,
Yeah.
Wayne, are you available Monday and possibly videotape the meeting?
Maybe?
Maybe.
Would you be able to do it Zoom? I might be out of town, I don't know for sure yet. I'd like to take part.
We can sit there and can we work something about that out?
So you wanna do it via
Actually,
Zoom,
can
or
you
you wanna
do
do
me,
it?
can you do me a
Hybrid.
favor? Can you do me a
Hybrid.
favor? Can you do me a favor? Can you take a little bit of a recess and can you call Jim Blount and see if he's free this morning? I know it's a pain, and I know you got bridge work to do. I do understand that Eric has to leave
You want me to call Jim and see whether he's available this morning to
this
me?
morning to me.
Is that right now?
Thank you.
Chris,
Go ahead.
are those NTP meetings, would those be public or just executive?
If Jim walks in the door, I'm gonna have him talk right in front of this meeting. I mean, he lives in Wyndham, this might be a delay that we have to sit there, put up, but we have another meeting at 12. I thought this was 10, 12. I mean, we could delay this meeting and have Jim come at 11 and then reconvene the
Yeah,
meeting.
because I've already met with Jim, and if I have to step out,
Yeah, it's
I can
fine.
attend at
Yeah.
12 o'clock, it's fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, no
I've
problem.
heard all I need to hear.
You know, if he has availability and he can make it,
Well, can Scott, because it's.
Scott's gonna be here at noon.
Okay, well, it's imperative that Scott will be here as well, because I don't want anybody making a decision without meeting the candidate.
No problem. So let's actually talk about the other part of this decision. So now, and maybe what we do is our next meeting is when, November 10th, something like that? November 10th? A good part of that meeting really does need to be what we're gonna do on November 11th. What we're gonna do related to the permanent position. And that'll have to be some discussions we have with the Board of Finance. You know, because as I said at the tri-board meeting, this is gonna be a big issue. It's either we are going to go for an inexperienced individual and potentially have the salary range in the same position it's currently in, or we're gonna go and we're gonna step up and it's gonna be more money that is gonna be impacted of the total budget. So we'll communicate with the Board of Finance as to what you guys, so you understand, because we can't have you guys push back if we as a board make a decision that impacts the future of the town, and then you come back in your budget cycle and say, we can't do that. Like, that's not gonna work.
So even before we engage this search firm, we need to figure out what we're gonna pay for someone. Because obviously, you know, from our discussions previously, at our salary range right now, it would be worth engaging a search firm.
No,
Because we're not gonna find anybody. So that gets us back to square one. Do we go back and look locally for somebody that maybe semi-retired or something is looking for a local,
yeah.
takes an early retirement, just state and wants to come and work for the town.
You talking about me?
So Jim cannot make today, he has a prior commitment, he is available all day Monday, so if you want to schedule him for Monday.
And if Ann can't make it, could Ann just participate by phone? Or just Zoom
That'd be
through,
fine with me,
or Zoom through your office, or,
yeah.
Well, if we're gonna do it in here, we gotta figure out a way to do it. So,
you know, the.
We can bring,
I can do
we
it.
can bring the Zoom setup over here.
let's do it, let's schedule it for Monday. Let's also reach out to the other individual and sit down and see if he's available on Monday. The meeting is actually November 10th, it's on the calendar, it's November 10th. November 11th is Veterans Day.
For the record, the other guy, I've never talked to him, I don't know him, I don't know any providence about it.
Well, we don't know if he's even interested. He may say no to us, and that's okay. We're gonna do this on Monday.
Yeah.
I wanna do my due diligence and look at, if there's anybody referred to us, I wanna investigate it and take a look.
No problem.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I-
So Jeff did investigate him and found out that Jim is an author, so he's got some skills.
Yeah, I took a look at his LinkedIn profile and took a look, just wanna see who he's about before I met him, so.
Jeff, you're talking this coming Monday?
This coming month.
What time?
He said, you said anytime?
He said he's available.
That's better for you because you work,
This time, I'm not working on Monday.
you're not working on Monday?
I only work Tuesday, Wednesday,
Are
Thursday.
you guys okay in the morning?
Yeah.
No, it's fine with me.
7 a.m., bright and early?
Early as possible.
Well, what we have to do is we have to talk to the senior center director to make sure that they're not utilizing this facility.
Well, can we check right now, see when it's available?
Sure. Everybody get a coffee?
Jeff, can you spell his last name, Jim Belongo's last name?
B-E-L-L-A-N-O. Two L's, Bell,
Bilano, I'm sorry,
B-E-L-L-A-N-O.
Never heard of B. I was thinking of B's all the time.
Banner?
Maybe you were the only one who was a bee. Maybe everyone else was actually saying a bee. Maybe that's what's going on.
There's so much wrong with the basic.
No, they didn't drill any extra.
That's all I heard was the beach.
We're about to go back.
Okay, so is 9 o'clock good?
9 o'clock is fine with me.
9 o'clock? Eric, so 9 o'clock, post the meeting today. I realize it'll be a problem, but I don't really care.
It's close.
It's close. We have 3 days in between.
And I think anybody in this room can agree that it's
It's
important.
important to do this. All right, so 9 o'clock, we have 9 till 10, and then they have chair yoga coming in.
9 to 10 Monday morning,
9 to 10 Monday,
same time, same place.
same time, same place.
Okay.
So,
That is an open, that is a public meeting.
yeah, it'll be a public meeting.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions for Jim, please come and ask.
Yeah, so it's more important that we sit there and get this step done, and then really at our meeting on the 10th, we really have to plan and understand. So, Eric, I will discuss with you the salary survey request to sit there and see if we can get it from our next meeting, and potentially reaching out to the 2 search firms just to understand their parameters and how they work, so that we can have maybe a more robust discussion at that meeting.
Would that search firm work in conjunction with a board that was developed to be part of the search committee, or would it just be just?
We have to have a committee.
A committee, that's what I'm
Hiring
saying.
committee.
Committee, yeah, okay.
So we're gonna have a hiring committee. That committee will, be 2 or 1 or 2 members of this board, probably 2. And then we'll have other board members, and then we'll need some members of the community that aren't elected to participate.
That part's actually laid out in the charter, so you can just read the charter provisions for the hiring committee for the town administrator.
Yeah, and that's something that's recommended. Let's all read the charter issues before we get to our next meeting on the 10th, so that we're all familiar with what the issues are of hiring and what issues are specific to the town administrator's role. Anybody else have anything you guys want to talk about today? We good? All right.
So are we gonna know about the second candidate probably via email?
We do have an email from him. I'll get with Eric. We'll try to sit there and get a phone number from John if we can.
John didn't have it, or I would have already gotten it.
Okay. All right, then let's email him. We'll email him, right after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So if we're gonna do that, I know we don't have public speak, but I'm gonna go through it at the end. Joe,
I'm sorry, what?
you're good? Public
I'm
speak.
good.
You good? Marcy,
Oh, wait, I did have one question.
go ahead.
Is there a price to keep you on?
Priceless.
Absolutely not. I'm leaving regardless.
Okay, just had to ask.
I already made a commitment to another town. That's where I'm going.
Marcy?
I just, I know you have time to think about this, but when I started my business over 30 years ago, my main focus was fertilizing, and I've hired a lot of people. And you may not be aware, but when people fertilize lawns, there's a lot of brain work that they need. They need math, they need people, they need, to know about chemicals. I'm saying this because I have so much experience in hiring people and professional people. And what I found over the years was that when I hired people that were experienced, they came at a cost, yes, but I was willing to pay that cost. But what I found was a lot of them had a lot of bad habits. That's why they were getting another job. The people they were working for weren't working out because of their bad habits. But when I hired somebody that didn't have experience, I hired them for their heart, for their love for the work, the company, and I would spend a lot of time training that person, and I would have that person for a long time. It's unusual for a company of mine, landscaping, to have people for 10 years, and that's what I did. I had several people for 10 years to do our fertilizing. So, and this is what we found. I believe this is why we were so successful with Eric. He has the heart. He loves this town. He did a lot of work, and I just want to put that out there. And I know that it's very important that we, try to make sure we have someone that's professional. And I know it's a lot of work when we hire someone that's not experienced to go through these pains and spend a lot of time training this person. But it's also something to consider that that's why we've been so successful. We took the growing pains, but what we can learn from this is that if we find somebody that we can do this with, then after 5 or 6 years, maybe we bump their salary up, maybe they treat them really well. But anyway, I'm just going on, but I just wanted to skip that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm good right now, thank you.
Liz?
No, I'm fine for now.
Nathan? Good. Bert?
Eric, thank you.
No problem.
I've enjoyed working with you.
You as well. Elaine? No, sorry. Diane? She threw me off. She threw me off. I'm blaming it on her. Sorry.
Okay, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Bill? Elaine?
I think it's great that you're looking to get an interim immediately while Eric is still here, so that some of this stuff can be recorded, written down, we can get the process down, so that if we hire someone else for a permanent position, that will also be smooth.
All right, I didn't miss anybody? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye. All right.